the defense just isn't like the steel curtain of 35 years ago. It's a less entertaining game to me than it was. Plus, I don't like to see these guys ruining their bodies by getting these concussions, and we know they're going to end up as vegetables who commit suicide in 20 years. I hate to see that.
Okay.
And the knee thing is an issue. I mean, there's no doubt. What is it that hard in this country to thank your lucky stars by saluting the flag for 2 minutes? Then take a knee to protest the police if you want.
Yeah.
But God, we're all Americans, and we ought to be so proud of it, and we ought to honor that by saluting the flag, I think. Although they have the right to do it. I wish they wouldn't.
Let me come back to the fact the president signed off on an executive order today that would open the door for insurance companies to sell less comprehensive policies, probably more catastrophic than anything else, but anyway, would be able to sell these policies to people who don't otherwise have insurance. What's your opinion on this?
I got a mixed bag on it, because what's going to happen, here's what's going to happen. A lot of people are going to buy these policies, and legally now they can buy them. They'll save money, but when they get sick, the policies won't cover it. And you and I are going to end up paying for their illness. That's going to be the problem. We're going to subsidize their health care more than we are now. That's inevitable, and people with pre-existing conditions are going to end up getting cut out of this thing. That's the trend, and it's going to happen. So that's it. And the other thing is the politics of it is we, on the right, criticized Obama for legislating through executive order. Now Trump's doing it. I don't hear a peep out of many people on the right. Why is it okay for Trump to do it, but it wasn't okay for Obama to do it? Okay, yeah, I know the answer is going to be, well, Congress won't do what Trump wants. Well, how about giving it a little bit of time? These things, to change of our economy, which our health care is, it takes a while. It took a year for Obama to get that damn thing passed. If it takes a full year to get it repealed, that's not the end of the world,
Okay.
And I mean, if he didn't get it repealed till this coming January or February, would that be that terrible?
No.
And I think to go and do this by executive order probably will undercut the repeal effort even more, but I'm not sure. I mean, they've got a tough job ahead of them.
All right, we've got about a minute. Let me ask you, North Korea, out of the news for the last couple of days. What do you think is going on?
Pretty much the same. I think North Korea is dead set on getting ICBMs with nuclear warheads on it. Nothing's going to stop them. And we're going to wake up maybe within a year, and they are going to have them and be able to miniaturize the warhead and be able to reach the continental United States. I'm not saying they're going to launch it, but they want to have it. And it will have happened. And that's it. We're going to live with it. We're going to live with a badass government with bad weapons.
Exit question. Got 30 seconds. Do you worry about an attack on the West Coast?
Well, I worry a little bit, but I just don't see the logic of it. Why would they launch one and hit America knowing that America would then wipe them off the map? Why would this 33-year-old Kim Jong-un want to commit suicide?
Agreed. So we want to direct everybody over to the podcast, which is Revolution_the podcast. John LeBoutillier, along with Arlene Bynum. Hey, thank you, John. We're out. We'll talk to you next week at our usual time.
Okay, great, Mark. Can't wait. Thanks.
More of Mark Bernier Replay today. Highlights from today's show that you may have missed. Coming up on WNDB.
Happy 41st birthday, Giant Recreation World RV!
41 years of the best RV brands, 41 years of the best RV deals, 41 years of the best RV service. It's Giant Recreation World's 41st birthday sale, but you get the presents. Now through Sunday, head to any of the 3 Giant Recreation World showrooms in Winter Garden, Palm Bay, and Destination Daytona in Ormond Beach for 41st birthday deals on their giant selection of new and used travel trailers, pop-up campers, fifth wheels, and motorhomes.
Wow, what a party!
You'll find the top names: Tiffin, Holiday Rambler, Monaco, Coachman, Forest River, and more. Trade anything of value, plus only the Giant offers an exclusive lifetime warranty and VIP camping club. Enjoy a free cookout daily from 11 to 2, plus raffles. Come party with the Giant during their 41st birthday sales event. Stop by any of the 3 showrooms in Winter Garden, Palm Bay, and Destination Daytona in Ormond Beach, and always online at thegiant1.com. That's thegiant1.com.
It's not like you go looking for a new one every day, even every year. But when it's your garage door, you need it to be dependable. You need it to last for years and work hard for you every day. Just like the Overhead Door Company of Daytona Beach.
Your garage door is something you're going to look at and use every day. So when you do need a new garage door or repair, you should choose a company as dependable as you need that garage door to be. This is Jeff Hogg at Overhead Door Company of Daytona Beach. We've won the Small Business of the Year award, and we've been voted best around for over 25 years. That's why we're Daytona's source for residential and commercial garage door service and installation. When you think about it, they go up, they go down, they open, they close, and when they don't, you need to call the company that is voted best around. Overhead Door Company of Daytona Beach.
Overhead Door Company of Daytona Beach. Call 386-226-3870 or visit overheaddoordaytona.com for the genuine, the original, the Overhead Door Company of Daytona Beach.
This is Mark Bernier Replay Today. Highlights from today's show that you may have missed.
Go right to it to talk with Christopher Farrell. He's the Director of Investigations and Research at Judicial Watch. Over the almost 27 years this radio program has been on the air here at WNDB, we have featured Judicial Watch in one way or another with representatives, generally on the phone, many, many times, maybe as many as 50 times over the years. And it's been a little while since we've had someone on. Chris was the speaker today at Tiger Bay, and because we had staff meetings today at Embry-Riddle, I wasn't able to get out in time to get back, so I missed his talk. And he's been very kind before he flies back out to include a visit to us today on WNDB. Chris, thanks for coming in.
It's great to be with you. Thanks very much.
One of the educational things that I get from you and from others at Judicial Watch is you're equal opportunity investigators. You are not an arm of the Republican Party. Do a lot of people think that, though?
Well, we're philosophically conservative, and so people shouldn't confuse philosophy with politics. You know, we are a principles over politics organization. We've sued Republicans and Democrats alike, regardless of administration. But we come at our views, our philosophy is that of conservatism with a small c. And so that's kind of what drives our viewpoint. Our idea is that smaller government, lower taxes, an emphasis on, pro-family, pro-Second Amendment, that's where we're coming from. And we fight for those things. And, a lot of people have a philosophy that says government is the answer, more social spending, more programs, more whatever. And they think that somehow that will liberate them or that will allow them to socially engineer some heaven on earth. We don't buy it. We look at individual responsibility in the family.
The big question I always want to ask is, it seems that the more that government on either side tries to cover up and hide, the more Judicial Watch digs in to find out what's going on these issues. Can you tell us, has there been any policy shift in this country or any progressively different new thing that protects the American people that came as a result of a Judicial Watch investigation?
Absolutely. The whole reason that the American public knows anything about Hillary Clinton's email server is the result of Judicial Watch. The fact that the public knows about Benghazi and the fact that the video lie of Susan Rice and Mrs. Clinton is because of Judicial Watch. We uncovered the emails that showed the Deputy National Security Advisor, Mr. Rhodes, trying to coordinate and synchronize the big lie, saying, don't blame it on a policy failure, blame it on the video. That's Ben Rhodes' email. We made that public. We uncovered it through our litigation. And so there's some pretty big stuff in the not too distant past that if we had not been doing the work we have been doing, both investigating and litigating, the public would have no idea, zero.
Is Hillary Clinton the female edition of a Teflon Don? With all of the talk about the email servers, your work, your organization's work, no charges have ever been brought against her, have there?
It is deplorable and disgraceful. The reason I say that, that's just not, rhetoric. Let me explain to you why. In my past professional life, I was a special agent of Army counterintelligence, and I know very well the requirements, the elements of the crime for 18 U.S. Code Section 793F, which is mishandling of national defense information. I've successfully prosecuted those cases. I've put people in custody over those issues. When Director Comey got up on the 5th of July, 2016, and did his press briefing, the first 13 and a half minutes of the 15 minutes were great. He laid out all the elements of the crime, and he described exactly how Mrs. Clinton knowingly and willfully violated each element of the crime. And then he said, but we're not going to prosecute. And that's a grave mistake. He also invented an element of the crime, and the thing that he invented was intent. That crime, 793F of the 18 U.S.C., it doesn't require intent. There is no requirement. The idea is the security of the United States has been harmed, period. No one cares about what you thought, what you felt, what your intention was. It doesn't matter. And so in that regard, when on the 2nd of July, 3 days earlier, when Mrs. Clinton was interviewed by the FBI, my first question was she Mirandized? Was she read her rights? And that's a critical question, because if federal law enforcement officers are questioning her and she's the subject of an investigation, they have to Mirandize her. They have reason to believe she's committed the crime based on the circumstances and all the facts that were available. And so instead, it turned into a coffee and donuts session, right? David Kendall comes in, her personal attorney, with 5 other attorneys, some of whom have been granted immunity by the Justice Department, and they all sit around and she feigns that she can't remember anything. What a bunch of garbage, and how disgraceful to the FBI when you're questioning someone and you say, hey, look, do you recall signing a classified information non-disclosure agreement? And she says, oh, I don't have any recollection. You pause the interview. You pull out of your briefcase the document that she signed that you have on record, and you ask her to refresh her recollection, and you hand her the document. Now, does that appear to be something that you say, oh, yes, I remember signing that back on whatever? Okay, so when you read this and signed it, you're a very smart, well-trained, educated attorney. You understand the consequences of having signed this record and what the obligation is on you, isn't it? Don't you? That wasn't done. This is insanity. How come the FBI did not do what I just described to you in the last 45 seconds? Why?
Don't know. Why do you think?
Because they threw the case. They threw the case going into it. They knew that they were. Jim Comey either didn't have the stomach or the spine to conduct a legitimate law enforcement investigation.
And Trey Gowdy tried to hold his feet to the fire, didn't he?
Yeah, but I mean, sadly, I'm using air quotes when I say leadership. The leadership of the Congress, whether it was Boehner or Ryan now or McConnell, they're pathetic. I mean, they act...
They act outraged, but they're not.
Yeah. I mean, even in the case of the most recent scandal, which I think is probably far greater than all this Russia hysteria, is the Awan brothers. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Awan brothers. They're IT people who worked for Debbie Wasserman Schultz.
Oh, yes.
And about 40 some odd other Democratic members of their caucus. And this Awan guy was downloading terabytes of information off the House server. And his wife fled the country. There's a very good reporter, a guy named Luke Rosiak, who works for the Daily Caller. He's the guy who broke the story last February. This is it's like out of a novel, the stuff that's gone on. And, eventually this guy, the head of the group or the family, the Awan family, Imran Awan, he tried to flee the country. And the FBI grabbed him at Dulles Airport outside of Washington, D.C. They're holding him on bank fraud charges, but really I think there's a much larger counterespionage or counterintelligence question. This is scary stuff. Have you heard Mr. Ryan or Mr. McConnell utter a single syllable about this?
No, not at all.
Yeah, we've got a real problem,
We're talking with Chris Farrell. He's with the Judicial Watch Group in Washington, D.C. How are you funded, you guys?
99.9% of our money comes from mom and pop donations. Around the country, absolutely. Around the country.
501c3?
We are a 501c3 under the IRS code. We're organized as an educational foundation. We send out a newsletter called The Verdict, and then we do an ask, or we solicit support from our folks who read The Verdict. We say, if you like what you see, what we're doing, if you like our work, please support us. And so there's about 500,000 people around the country who regularly support us. We do get some money from large, like philanthropic foundations, but I mean, it barely covers 1/4 of 1 month's expenses.
Oh, wow.
Like I said, 99.9% of our money is from individuals, donors, and supporters who like what we do and want us to do more of it.
How many people actually work for Judicial Watch?
Just under 50. We have like 47, 48 people.
And you're on 3rd Street Southwest in Washington.
Indeed, and we have a presence in South Florida in Coral Gables. We have two
Why
folks
is that?
there. It's kind of a leftover, really, from things dating all the way back to the 2000 election when we were doing. We're the folks who created the ballot crisis here. I hate to say that, but it's true.
Thing?
We did. When we knew that things were getting weird with the reports of dimpled chads and hanging chads and all that stuff, we quickly filed 67, because there's 67 counties in Florida, 67 Florida Sunshine Act requests, because under the Florida law, ballots are public documents. So we asked for access to all of them because we wanted to see what this nonsense was about dimples and chads and all the rest of this. And we hired an outside accounting firm to do an audit. Of course, the whole world came running in behind us, right? That's when you had television crews showing people holding up ballots and looking at them with magnifying glasses. We're the ones who started that. And so we had a substantial effort underway to audit and to do a check, with an accounting firm. And the firm that we hired had tremendous experience running elections for unions. So we figured they were well qualified to take a look at this whole process for a variety of reasons. And so when we got done, it was our determination, based on our expert accountants in this whole thing, that Bush did win by about 800 votes. That was our conclusion. I think you'll find other people who've done studies who are pretty much in the same ballpark. But anyway, so our presence here in South Florida goes all the way back to then. And the author of our Corruption Chronicles blog, which is on our website at judicialwatch.org, the author of that is Irene Garcia. She writes those articles. There's some contributors as well, but she's really the head of that, the chief of that. She's an extraordinarily talented journalist. She was out with the LA Times for 13 years, came to us. She was a Pulitzer Prize-winning team member of some reporting out there in LA. She's a super representative for us and does some tremendous writing.
Chris, did you think when this was going on, we may never find out who's the president, when it was going on, when you were watching?
No, I mean, I had pretty high confidence that sooner or later it was going to be resolved. I jokingly, it's kind of dark humor, but it's the old Stalin quote: "Doesn't matter who votes, matters who counts the votes." Right? Yeah. Thankfully, we didn't have to do the Castro quote, which was elections. What for? Right?
Yeah.
But look, it was a serious question. There was a lot of confusion. I'm satisfied that after we did our investigation, that we actually did get to the bottom of it. I can tell you that I signed out a Votomatic machine from Palm Beach County, and I had all sorts of people try and make a dimple in that special Votomatic machine. Tall, thin, short, fat, black, white, Asian, you name it. I tried every person under the sun. I said, here, take the stylus, try and make a dimple. No one could do it.
Wow.
No one.
Okay.
So
on your way into the studio, you told me, and this bears listening to for our listeners in this 3 o'clock hour, that you will look at both sides. Right now, the Trump administration, if I understood correctly, you guys have been fighting them because they've been trying to suppress information about Hillary. Is that right?
The Trump administration continues to actively and aggressively defend Hillary Clinton and records and documents that no one contests that they aren't public records, that they're not government papers that you are owed, right? This is your material, your work product that you paid for. But they keep fighting and digging their heels in, trying not to release the papers, using various exemption claims that really, frankly, are baloney. But that doesn't stop the lawyers from doing lawyer stuff, right?
Why do you think that's happening? For a guy that kept saying, lock her up.
Yeah, this is one of these imponderables. Part of it is, I believe, deep down inside, and this is just my personal opinion, that the president wants to see this stuff released. The problem is the administrative state beneath him, the sort of professional political operatives and the lawyers, they're entrenched, they're embedded, and they're not interested in reversing course. And they don't want to see things get out. Just like we discussed a few moments ago with the Awan brothers. Where's McConnell and Ryan talking about this horrendous scandal within the House Democratic Caucus? You don't hear a peep about it. What happened to the DNC server that they hired CrowdStrike to come in and look at that one? FBI wasn't allowed. Figure this one out. The FBI wasn't allowed to look at it. This is insanity. And so you see this thing perpetuated. The other part of it, we mentioned this before we went on air, is that the demographics of Washington, D.C., when the government goes to bed at night, right, when all those people in these headquarters agencies and departments, when they leave their office, they go home to Washington, D.C. that voted 94% Hillary Clinton, or to Prince George's County or Alexandria or Arlington. All these counties, voted in the upper 80s. That's the populace. Those are the demographics of the people that come into the headquarters buildings in Washington, D.C. every morning and man the government. And so that's an entrenched bureaucracy that is philosophically 180 degrees out from the president. And, Whittaker Chambers, if we go way back in time, he said, look, you don't have to engage in, sabotage and subversion. You just have to make mistakes. And so there's a lot of people just making mistakes.
Wow. How long will this go on, this investigation, this fight with the Trumps? Do you guys put a price to it and say, you know what, this is going to go on forever? There's no return, or do you just fight until you win?
You have to fight, and you have to be consistent. We are very, very persistent in our work. In a couple of weeks, I'll be down in Little Rock, Arkansas, looking at the Clinton archives and checking, believe it or not, 16-year-old litigation over Hillary healthcare. This is one of these deals where be careful what you ask for. You might just get it. So we have a court order that compels the archives to produce records on a question that we asked years ago. Well, if you're going to go to federal court and you're going to ask for records and they're going to be ordered by a judge to produce them, guess what? You have to go look at them. And so we are as persistent as you can possibly imagine. We don't quit. We don't forget. We never get. Once we stick our hooks or claws into something, we do not let go.
Do you think the Second Amendment is likely to change at all as a result of Las Vegas?
No.
Why?
Look, there's individual wackos who sadly do things that are enormously destructive, and they get very high-profile coverage. More people are killed by cars. When are we going to outlaw cars? How long could you stand by and watch people be murdered in 2,000 pounds of metal screaming down the highway at 75 miles an hour? Isn't that reckless? I mean, that's the same sort of argument that can be made, right? Bad things happen. The problem with the issue with respect to weapons is that you have this sort of concentrated effect, right? This single moment where all this happens. And I say this as a dad who had a daughter at Virginia Tech when that shooting took place. I was sitting, in fact, in a radio studio in Phoenix, Arizona, and the host was looking at a TV monitor over my head. And he goes, wow, something's going on at Virginia Tech. Well, that was my daughter on campus at that time.
Where was she?
She was in her faculty advisor's office, thankfully, and was locked down and safe as could be, as was her future husband. Thankfully, he was also safe. But two people who were killed, a French professor and another resident advisor. My daughter was an RA on campus. Two close friends, well, one close friend, one professor who she was friendly with, she took a French class from, were killed. So this isn't some abstract faculty lounge, debate for me. I understand it. I appreciate it. But you can't go around changing fundamental constitutional questions based upon the very unfortunate, very serious, very sad actions of people who are whacked out. Frankly, it's a mental health issue. It's not a Second Amendment issue.
I don't know how far Judicial Watch gets into this, but I'm curious to see if either you or Tom have opined on what has to happen first, fixing health care or fixing tax reform.
I don't know that there's a Judicial Watch position on that.
Was there on how Obamacare came to be, how the Supreme Court decided
look,
that it's a tax?
Yeah, from the voting to the contorted thinking and opinion of Chief Justice Roberts. Look, Obamacare was designed to fail. All right, this is another one of these philosophical questions. That law was designed and implemented with the hopes that it would collapse, because then it would cause a crisis wherein all the statists, right, all the people on the left side of the column,
go to single payer,
would say, oh, there's a crisis. Look, those greedy, bad insurance companies, they just want to hurt people. And so the only way we can save the day is, of course, with a government solution.
So it's a setup.
I am absolutely convinced of it. It was designed to fail, a slow motion collapse. And we're seeing that. I mean, you don't hear a lot about how all these healthcare exchanges have collapsed, how many places only have one provider. I mean, this is, we're in very grave trouble.
The president signed an executive order today that was supposed to create a mechanism so insurance companies could sell less comprehensive policies so people could have some kind of insurance. Is Judicial Watch going to weigh in on whether that's okay?
I don't know. I mean, I haven't read what he signed. I mean, while he was signing that and announcing it, I was eating salmon and and talking to the group this afternoon. So I don't know the particulars. Philosophically, more choice, more competition, that all sounds better. But I don't know the details.
Okay. Let me ask you about Equifax, because this may not be a Judicial Watch issue. I don't know if it falls outside the purview of where you all look, but something's really wrong with that. For these people to sell off stock and to just let this thing slip through their fingers so 500,000 people are suddenly exposed. I am shocked. The Justice Department isn't all over these people. Are you?
They should be. But I kind of put that in the same category as the congressmen who sit in hearings on banking and other issues, other regulatory matters. And then when they leave the hearing, they go back to their office and call their broker and trade on it. So it's not surprising. Are they supposed to do it? Of course not. Does it happen? Yeah, it happens.
Is Judicial Watch actively watching privacy rights as it relates to drones and other things like this, monitoring that people's privacy is going to be invaded? Will they go into that?
Oh, yeah. If it's a public policy matter that touches on constitutional liberties or sort of foundational freedoms, we're there, and we do it all the time. We also litigate. We have a very aggressive election integrity program, which is headed up by the former deputy chief of the voting rights section at the Justice Department, my colleague and a brilliant attorney named Bob Popper. Bob is the guy who brought the Philadelphia Black Panther case and then had that pulled out from under him when the Obama administration said, no, we're not going to follow through on it. So there are some counties in this country where there's 240% more people registered to vote than there are 18-year-old adults eligible to vote resident in the county. So that kind of nonsense has got to stop, and we're pursuing that. We've had some court victories in Indiana and Ohio, and we just put, I think, 6 or 8 other states on notice that they should encourage everyone to register to vote, but they also have an affirmative obligation under the law to make sure the voting rolls are accurate. So if you're dead, you're a felon, you moved away, you went to the other side of the state and registered again, all that's got to be cleaned up. You can't have the election.
Voter integrity is damaged, is it not?
Absolutely it is. Absolutely. That's why we're so aggressively pursuing this.
Are you concerned about the safety and integrity of the next election, the midterm in 2018?
Not extraordinarily so. I mean, I think it's sort of our routine level of concern that voter rolls, that's the greatest place for mischief to occur, is voter rolls. Frankly, it's why some people are so frantic that voter ID not be implemented. Because if you have to provide ID and say, look, my name's John Smith and I live here and I'm part of this county, and I mean, who doesn't want that and why? I've heard all the arguments about, oh, it's an attempt at voter suppression, it's racist. You know, you need to look at North Carolina, one election cycle back. African-American voter participation went up after they implemented voter ID. So I'm not willing to buy that line.
If someone is a convicted felon, they lose their constitutional rights, one of which is to vote.
Correct.
The argument coming on down here in Florida is whether they should get those votes that
The radio stations of Southern Stone Communications, FM 93.5, AM 1150, WNDB Daytona Beach. Proud to be locally owned.
Some progress being made in the deadly California wildfires. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. Crews battling the blazes in wine country making headway in some of the larger fires in the foothills of the Sierra Nevada mountains, but winds expected to pick up again tomorrow. Fox's Jessica Rosenthal has more live.
Lisa, crews are racing to do as much as they can to contain the wildfires before dry, windy weather gets worse throughout the weekend. Resources have been pouring into the state. They're trying to bring in crews from as far away as Australia. Sonoma County Sheriff Rob Giordano says they are also still looking for a constantly changing list of hundreds of missing people.
Those are big numbers. Sometimes we get duplicates of people, so in those 1,000 reports, somebody could be reported more than once. And a lot of it is communication issues. Cell phone towers are down. People don't have their chargers with them.
Now, the mayor of the city of Santa Rosa says more than 2,800 homes burned within the city's limits, Lisa.
Jessica, the House approving a $36.5 billion aid bill, some of which is earmarked for victims of the fires. President Trump signing an executive order to make lower premium health care plans more widely available. But he says...
And we are going to also pressure Congress very strongly to finish the repeal and the replace of Obamacare once and for all.
But his proposals may not be finalized in time to impact coverage for 2019, let alone next year. House Democratic leader Nancy Pelosi saying it's interesting to see President Trump use an executive order after criticizing President Obama's use of them. White House Chief of Staff John Kelly denying reports that he considered leaving his post.
My only frustration, with all due respect to everyone in the room, is when I come to work in the morning and read about things I allegedly said or things that Mr. Trump allegedly said.
Kelly kidding reporters that he is not quitting today. Fox News, fair and balanced.
The huge credit bureau breach may have dropped off your news feed, but your information may not have dropped off the dark web. Once your personal information is out there, thieves can use it to steal your identity for months, even years after a breach. Fortunately, it's not too late to get protection with LifeLock. Sign up today and we'll begin using proprietary technology to monitor your personal information for threats, including new accounts in your name, money being stolen from your 401k, or your information being sold on the dark web. And if there's a problem, one of our US-based identity restoration agents will work to fix it. No one can prevent all identity theft or monitor all transactions at all businesses, but with LifeLock, you'll know your identity is on our radar, even if the last breach is long forgotten. Go to LifeLock.com or call 1-800-LifeLock today to get 10% off when you use promo code NEWS. That's promo code NEWS. LifeLock. More detection, more protection.
The opinions expressed on this show are those of the participants, the hosts, the guests, and the callers, and do not necessarily reflect the opinions and views of Southern Stone Communications, WNDB Radio, its employees, and friends. Comments regarding WNDB's programming can be addressed to D. Lang at DaytonaRadio.com.
Live from Daytona Beach, Florida, bringing a voice to America's forgotten working class, speaking the truth for the America that Washington left behind, making America great again, 1 hour at a time. This is Trump Talk Live, where we the people have the right voice, presented by the Republican Party of Volusia County. Now, here are your hosts, Vic Baker and Tony Ledbetter.
Greetings, fellow American Patriot Trumpublicans, and welcome to the Trump Health Care Cure. Judge Janine Lincoln Day, Kit Martin, Teenage Republican, Drain the Swamp, Ditch Mitch, NFL Retreat, Dirty Harvey Exile, New York Times Unmasked episode of Trump Talk Live, the home of fearless truth-telling about our 45th president and his mission to stand up for the beleaguered middle class, stand up against villains of the world, and stand up for Old Glory, regardless of whether the fast-withering left and spineless faux Republicans stand against him or not. We are Trump Nation. We are Trump warriors. We packed the Ocean Center Sunday night to hear an inspiring call to arms from Judge Jeanine Pirro, a fierce defender of Donald Trump, truth, justice, and the American way. Here is fair warning to senators who work maybe 2 days a week and undermine the president's promises to us when they do show up. Your days are numbered. Trump Nation will rise up as we did last year, and we will finish the careers of those who choose to ignore the will of the people who pay their taxes and salaries. It's time to ditch Mitch and pull the cork on Corker. The cozy little game in Washington is entering the 2-minute warning, and we will soon populate the Senate with Trumpublican patriots like Judge Roy Moore, Marsha Blackburn, Kelly Ward, and others who fully appreciate what we're sending them to do. The president rallied truckers in Harrisburg for his middle-class miracle this week, a tax reform package that promises to cut taxes on businesses and the hardworking middle class, kill the death tax in AMT, make America competitive again, and bring trillions of dollars home from overseas business investments. Don't blow this, Mitch. Senators, do your job. Donald Trump and the patriotic Trump Nation has brought the kneeling football league back to its feet. Roger Goodell may not salute the red, white, and blue, but he does love the color green. His bottom line is bleeding from outraged patriotic fans who have turned off the games and transformed the NFL from the most popular to the least popular sport in America. So now you're saluting Roger. New rule, players. If you're flagged for unpatriotic conduct, you may be kneeling at home next Sunday, out of a job. Hollywood is seething with hate for Donald Trump. Now one of the biggest Trump bashers of Tinseltown is cast aside by his hypocritical make-believe industry. Indie mogul Harvey Weinstein is fired, exposed by the New Yorker as a serial sexual harasser, using his casting couch to force unwanted advances on glamorous starlets. The Hollywood left has been forced to abandon dirty Harvey Weinstein, who's fled to rehab in Europe, while his gorgeous wife, Georgina, runs to divorce court. Hollywood covered up for Dirty Harvey for decades. How are we shocked by this? Give them all Oscars for the worst bad act in Hollywood history. Even Hillary, who went after her husband's victims, is abandoning Dirty Harvey, who was one of her biggest Hollywood bagmen. Clue, she hasn't given back any of the money, by the way. And James O'Keefe sheds the light on the lefty rag New York Times. The liberal paper of record has been exposed as rabidly and deliberately biased against conservatives and especially against President Donald Trump. No surprise here. But now we have caught the Times propagandists admitting their crimes against the truth. All that fibs, they print. Our thanks to the Trump Talk Live team of Volusia County TARs, Teenage Republicans, led by Chairman Duncan DeMarche, handling the graphics for the Facebook Live webcast of our show. He's assisted by Ian Escalante and Malcolm Swaggerty, all future leaders of America. You're listening to us live on WNDB 1150 AM, 93.5 FM in Daytona Beach. You can also listen online anywhere on TrumpTalkLive.com. You can watch our show with graphics on Facebook Live, where the Volusia County Republican Facebook page, and you can also watch by searching Trump Talk Live on Facebook, not on Facebook, on YouTube through the Vic Baker channel. I'm your fearless Trumpublican truth teller, Vic Baker, hosting the show tonight with a tired but happy Volusia County Republican Chairman Tony Ledbetter, basking in the afterglow of the biggest and most successful Lincoln Day dinner in the history of Florida. Tony.
Tired, you got that right. I've been resting for the last 2 days, but yes, it was an exciting day for me because I got to spend the whole day with the judge, and that was exciting. I got to pick her up at the airport, take her to the hotel, and it was exciting for me because there's very few people that I connect with in the political world But it's like everything we talked about the whole day, and it started when I picked her up at 1, and I had to take her back to the airport the next morning. It was just like talking to myself. I mean, we discussed everything political, and it was an enjoyment to talk to somebody that I connected with. And got to spend, like I say, the whole day with her, and she was just a genuine, honest, Trump-loving person, and that's exciting. And I'll get to see her again because she's going to be back here November the 9th up in Alachua County in the Gainesville area. And I was kind of joking with her when I first met her. I said, "You're going to be back here in Florida on November the 9th?" She said, "Really?" and as I was talking to her, she said, "Well, I know where I'm going to be next week, and I don't know where I'm going to be the following week because somebody else is managing her schedule on these trips." But I'm excited to go back to Gainesville. I'm going to carry my daughter and grandkids, and I told her, I said, "I'm going to come get another picture with my daughter and my grandkids, so I'll be seeing her again soon." But she is a true trooper, and we played the cornhole game, which you can see up on the Volusia County Republican Facebook site, and she got so excited about it that she said she's going to put it up on her show this weekend. So watch The Judge on Fox Saturday night, and you may see her with playing the cornhole game. So. What's up?
Well, we're going to hear some of the judge's remarks in a moment or two, but we have a caller on the line from the Gulf Coast, Colonel Mike McAllister, national spokesman of Citizens for Trump. He was one of our guests, one of our 704 guests who enjoyed Judge Jeanine. Mike, are you on the line?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear, Colonel. What's your impression of our big event?
Well, I want to say what I want to do before I give you guys some accolades, and I just want to also say to your listeners what a critical role they play in the grassroots effort and in other ways in this whole battle to save America for all of our children and our grandchildren. And it's really important they know the work they're doing, the conversations they have, the social media efforts they put in. All of this really makes a difference and throws wood on the fire. And I just want to say to them, and I know you have many times, that they are so vital in this. I tell you, having run for a statewide office, I went to a lot of REC Lincoln dinners. In fact, I went to one over in Volusia about 4 years ago. But I got to admit, guys, and I'm from Hillsborough County over here, and we have some county pride over here, but that was the best event I have ever attended from Pensacola to Miami. And so my hat's off to you.
Well, thank you. We salute you two for all your service, Colonel. And we know that you were a candidate for U.S. Senate and a candidate for governor in years past. And you're active with Citizens for Trump, spreading the message about our 45th president and trying to make sure that you roll back the fake news everywhere you go, Colonel.
Well, that's exactly right. And, there's a lot of things going on. And he's addressing many of them. We're addressing them at the state level and at the county level. And, it seems like every time you accidentally see the mainstream media spinning and provide, it's no news anymore. It's all their own personal biased political perspective on everything. But, we need the president. We need the leadership, if there is some, in the Senate and the House, particularly the Senate, to not only with this legislation, but he needs to get his appointees confirmed so that they can get on the job doing what the American people and our country needs them to be doing. He needs to get his guys in place. You can't carry all the water by yourself. So I sure wish they would hurry that process up and get these political appointees confirmed and on the job.
Well, and if they don't, we're going to talk about it a little later. Steve Bannon, Sebastian Gorka and company are going to do everything possible to ditch Mitch and every other incumbent that gets in the way of the Trump agenda.
Well, and that would be good. And I tell you, this battle that we all see, even in our local communities, we've got to protect America's, our country, our proud heritage, our culture. And, you may be aware, we did a live stream of Citizens for Trump in front of Raymond James Stadium here in Tampa a couple of Saturdays ago. basically calling out the owners to fix this with the kneeling before the national anthem. And not that we're claiming credit for that, but we hopefully help carry some of the water. But I believe that across the country, the message is finally being heard that they are not that rich, they're not that powerful, and they're certainly not that important to be able to trash the patriotic spirit of America. And I think they're starting to feel the heat a little bit.
They've lost 40%. Yeah, they've lost 40% on their approval rating in 1 week.
Well, yep, absolutely. And we did a live stream down in Bradenton about 3 or 4 weeks ago at one of the monument issues. And again, as Americans, we're our tradition and our heritage, we don't claim to be perfect, but it is who we are and it is what we are. And, we don't want to destroy our monuments because sometimes they remind us of mistakes that we've learned from and don't want to repeat again. But they also remind us of the proud heritage and the victories that we had. And, at what point do we draw the line? I mean, what, are they one day going to tear down the Martin Luther King statues and the George Washington Monument? I mean, where does it ever stop?
Absolutely.
So we need some state legislation that just puts an end to that. Yeah, what are your thoughts on it, Vic?
I agree with you wholly, Colonel. We're going to have to run to a break momentarily, but we appreciate you calling in to weigh in with us and give your impressions of our Lincoln Day event. And we look forward to working with you in the future to help the Trump nation achieve the agenda that we all want for America.
All right. Thanks a lot, Mike.
Hey,
thanks for calling.
Thank you. You guys are doing great. Thank you much.
Thank you, Colonel. We're going to be taking a break, and when we come back, we're going to highlight Sunday's Lincoln Day dinner you don't want to miss. Judge Jeanine Pirro, the Kit Martin Award, and Ron DeSantis coming up in a moment on Trump Talk Live.
Your voice can be heard loud and clear right here on Trump Talk Live. Our local number is 239-0033. You can call us toll-free from anywhere in the USA at 800-927-0033. We're not done yet. More Trump Talk Live is just ahead. In God we trust. In America we believe.
Halloween is taking over at New Smyrna Beach with the Zombie Beach 5K, Monster Beach 10K, and Little Devil Dash. All races are on Saturday, October 21st at the Flagler Avenue Beach Approach. The Zombie 5K and Monster 10K are family-friendly chip-timed races starting at 9 a.m. with registration at 8 and offer multiple age and gender medals as well as prizes for best costumes and free t-shirts to runners. But these are no ordinary races. The first 450 runners receive a flag football belt that zombies will try to steal from you. Youngsters have the Little Devil Dash, a short spread down the beach at 8:45. Don't forget to join us afterward for the Zombie Social, and Little Devils get their own Devil Dog and Milk. Go to nsbfla.com for more info, or text ZOMBIE to 40691 for the 5K, Monster for the 10K, and Devil for the little ones. Pre-registration is just $25, and walk-ups are welcome. Sponsored by Riverside Clinical Research, New Smyrna Beach Visitor Center, and WNDB.
Your voice can be heard loud and clear right here on Trump Talk Live. Our local number is 239-0033. You can call us toll-free from anywhere in the USA at 800-927-0033.
Welcome back, Trumpublicans. We have some fast-breaking news this afternoon. The president made an announcement on health care we'll talk about in a moment. First, he quickly made an announcement that you realize a few weeks back, Trump basically called out Pakistan and said they better step up and start helping us deal with these terrorists. Well, he made an announcement this afternoon at the White House, and here it is.
Yesterday, the United States government, working with the government of Pakistan, secured the release of Caitlin Coleman, Joshua Boyle, and their 3 children from captivity from the Haqqani Network, a terrorist organization with ties to the Taliban. The Pakistani government's cooperation is a sign that it is honoring America's wish that it do more to provide security in the region.
More to come on that as the week wears on. We don't have a lot of information on it, but we do know this. Unemployment claims have fallen to the lowest level in 43 years, Tony.
Yep.
The lowest in 43 years, despite the hurricanes. That's because of the positive force of President Trump going for positive achievements. One of the things he's done, Congress could do nothing since January about Obamacare. One of the crimps in Obamacare is in many of the states, there's only one place you can buy your insurance or no place. And because of that, the cost is sky high. What brings down cost but competition? The law does not allow it, but within the bounds of the law, the president can issue an executive order that allows competition across state lines because he can allow associations to buy in groups. Businesses can buy in groups for their employees across state lines if the president allows it. Well, the president signed an order today to that effect.
It directs the Department of Health and Human Services, the Treasury, and the Department of Labor to take action to increase competition, increase choice, and increase access to lower-priced, high-quality health care options. And they will have so many options. This will cost the United States government virtually nothing, and people will have great, great health care.
And he further explained how this is going to work.
This would open up additional options for employers to purchase the health plans their workers want. I'm also directing Secretary Acosta to consider ways to expand these associations and these health care plans all across state lines. This will create tremendous competition and transformative, in so many ways, change aimed at creating more and lower prices for millions of Americans. But the competition will be staggering. Insurance companies will be fighting to get every single person signed up. And you will be hopefully negotiating, and you'll get such low prices for such great care.
Thank you, President Trump.
Let me make a point
535
on
people
this.
in Congress couldn't do it. One president got it done.
You know, all you Trump lovers out there that just kind of don't like our president tweeting, remember this. Every time President Trump sends a tweet out, the only people that it disturbs is the media, because they go chasing the tweet and they make a mountain out of a molehill over a little small tweet. Well, President Trump doesn't get distracted. Remember that when he tweets and he gets on the minds of the media, he is continuing to keep his head down and get his work done. So this is proof. He has said over and over and over again that he was going to, one way or the other, fix health care. So he's in the process today of fixing health care without the Senate and without the House.
And unlike President Obama that simply rode roughshod over existing law, he's working within the bounds of the law that allows him discretion. So let's move on to the Lincoln Day. One big thing happened at the Lincoln Day, Tony, that's never happened before. You gave out a Lifetime Achievement Award to a young lady named Kit Martin. And she has a story that she'll tell in her own response, but tell us about why she's important to Volusia County Republicans.
Well, Kit Martin has been in Volusia County. I think she's 90. I forget.
Just turned 90.
Just turned 90. And so we kind of, the people that know her, that have worked with her over the years, have known her as basically the grandmother of the Republican Party, and she'll explain it in the clip as to why. But and there's other people too that were involved, but Kit was the one that stayed there. She didn't stop. She worked for years and years and years with fundraisers and supporting candidates, and I just made the decision myself about 4 or 5 months ago that I felt like it was the time to give an award, and I created this award, the Kit Martin Lifetime Achievement Award, and I wanted to make sure that she was the first one that got the award. So and I was pleasantly surprised that she was surprised when she showed up. I was afraid that she was gonna know before she came.
But she was more than prepared to make a gracious acceptance.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you, Tony. I would like to say something. When we moved here in the 60s, my husband and I, we were so outnumbered, like 3-1. And what really got me started, I went down to register. And the girl said to me, what do you want to register? I said, Republican. And then she gave me a little speech about, well, if you do that, you can't vote in a primary. And so I said, what is your name? And then I became good friends with Catherine Odom, who was the Democrat elections officer. And every week, I'd taken somebody else to register, and the same thing would happen. They'd say, are you sure you want to do that? And then I'm almost over the counter. Anyway, but the real bad thing, when Goldwater ran, I'm looking at my precinct, and I look and I say to my husband, you told me you registered. He said, I did. I said, you're not on this list. Oh, he said, she told me that I couldn't vote if I couldn't vote in a primary. Well, I made him stay in another room for a long time. But this is not just me. Since then we have had, it's not one person. It's all the people who start thinking like we do. And I know we're going to continue. And I have loved every minute of my politics. And my husband used to say, why don't you quit? I said, I can't. Anyway, but thank anyone here who ever worked with me. And I have really had a good time, but I'm not going to quit. And I just turned 90, but I'm not going to quit. Thank you.
That is Kit Martin. What a remarkable lady she is. Now, Congressman DeSantis was there, and we have a picture of Congressman DeSantis, and we have a picture of him with his lovely wife, Casey. They made a big announcement. The DeSantis family is growing by one more baby on the way. So that's great news, and we expect that the congressman will soon be a candidate for governor. He did not make that announcement last Sunday night, but we expect that may be happening before you know it. In any case, the congressman made an introduction to Judge Jeanine Pirro.
And she's drawing millions of people a week on Saturday night at 9 o'clock. She's drawing people away from college football and baseball and all these other things. And the reason she's able to do that is because she's speaking the truth. And it's authentic, and it's something that people respond to. And I can tell you, Tony's right. Fox has some good stuff. There's some other good stuff out in the media, but there's only a couple places where when you have all the BS we deal with the press, all the stuff that you see, when you turn on Judge Jeanine, she's going to cut right through all the garbage and zero in on what people care about.
Sure enough. Okay.
Yep.
Well, Judge Jeanine stepped up to the podium, and here's her beginning.
Thank you. Thank you so much. As I was sitting there and as the congressman announced that he and Casey were expecting another baby, I couldn't help but think how wonderful it is to live in this great nation, to be someone who can make a difference, a couple making a difference in America. And then I thought about the fact that every one of us in this room, has an obligation to make America better for that baby that Casey is carrying. Yeah.
She also took note of Tony's accomplishment of the past year here in Volusia County.
And I want to thank Tony Ledbetter. He's a hoot. We had a lot of laughs this morning when I got here. And I congratulate him, and I'm not surprised that now Volusia County has more registered Republicans than Democrats. Thank you, Tony. Woo! And Volusia County helped elect the 45th President of the United States. Thank you.
Now tell us, Judge, why exactly did we elect Donald Trump?
Now, we elected Donald Trump. Now, let's talk about Donald for a minute. I've known the president for many, many years. I know him to be a kind, honorable human being. And as with anyone in the public eye, you can destroy people. What I love about Donald is he doesn't take it laying back. Donald Trump punches back, and that's what enamored all of us to him, because that's what this country needs.
She, of course, agrees with Ron DeSantis that we need term limits. We'll skip that because it's a little long, but she then said it's time for us to ditch Mitch.
At least the House has passed how many bills, Ron? 274? 274 bills the House passed. Every one of them has gone to the Senate, and nothing is going on. Now, do you want to tell me what's going on? Actually, I don't want to know at this point. You're doing nothing. You should be fired. Mitch McConnell has to go.
Now, Tony, we and Citizens for Trump were campaigning earlier this year to get the Congress, including the Senate, to cancel their recess. Remember, we were shouting, "Do your job, do your job." Well, it must be Judge Jeanine was listening to us.
Come on, do your job. How many days a week do you work? Don't give me this crap. You go home and you work the whole time. No, you don't. You work 2 days a week. You take 3 weeks off. You work another 2 days. You would take 3 weeks off. And then you've got a pension. And then you've got health care. And you've got all this other stuff and the freebies. And no one turns anybody else in because they're all in cahoots with each other. That's what's going on in Washington.
Now, the lefties would have you believe that Donald Trump is the most hated man in Washington. I submit to you, Tony, the most hated man in Washington is the commissioner of the IRS, John Koskinen.
Yep. He's the smug, condescending, arrogant guy who sat before Congress and said, we lost Lois Lerner's emails, the ones that the Committee on Oversight and Reform is looking for. Hogwash. I was a local DA, and nobody lost anything. I could bring a forensic accountant in, and unless you threw that computer into the river, I could get it. He says no. And then we find out, oh, they have the emails. And then we try to get them. Congress tries to get them. And the State Department and the IRS and the Department of Justice, we don't have anything. They lie. They lie. Lying is in. Lying is perjury.
Thank you, Judge. We know that lying is perjury. And, she talked more about the corrupt swamp in Washington, D.C. And we were playing the game, Drain the Swamp game, but she's dead serious about draining the swamp.
We've defined deviancy down to the point where things 20, 30, 40 years ago that were bad aren't even considered bad. They're just considered that's the way things are done. And that's what we can thank the Obama administration for. Benghazi was about a video. Are you kidding me? About a video. These people get together and they lie. They lie to cover each other. They lie to win an election. They lie, and then they have stuff on each other so that Hillary can say to Barack, you got to cover me, I covered you. That's what it's all about. And that's why now is a time to recognize the rhinos have to go, because they are no different than the Democrats. They have to go.
Bye-bye, rhinos. And let's wrap this up. She has a message to all of us Trump-publicans. What do we have to do about all this?
You got to make sure that the people that we are running for Congress, your local elections, think the way you do. And you can expect that the left is going to do everything they can with the Soros money to make sure that we go the way of Europe, that it's global, that we let everyone in, that sanctuary cities and sanctuary states are the law across this great nation. Our founding fathers are spinning in their graves. We went down very quickly, very quickly. The last 8 years have been a disaster. It's not about Democrat and Republican. I could care less. It's about truth and justice in the American way.
Goosebumps. Goosebumps.
Yes,
Goosebumps.
yes, yes.
Judge Jeanine Pirro renders the verdict, and we'll be back with more of the news of the week with Donald Trump when Trump Talk Live continues.
Your voice can be heard loud and clear right here on Trump Talk Live. Our local number is 239-0033. You can call us toll-free from anywhere in the USA at 800-927-0033. Keep your radio or phone app or computer right where it is for more Trump Talk Live, where good old-fashioned American common sense is making a comeback.
This is a Hurricane Irma insurance alert. In the coming weeks, crooks, shysters, and predators will be approaching you, hoping to take advantage of you at your most desperate hour. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan, and I have some important advice about your business or homeowner's claim. First, don't sign over benefits from your insurance to anyone. Next, never allow any company to take a percentage of your claim. You don't have to. Also, visit hurricanelawyer.com to download a free copy of our Hurricane Bill of Rights. That's hurricanelawyer.com. When your insurance company is not fair, they must pay our legal fees when we file suit and win on your behalf. And finally, if they aren't being fair, tell them you're calling me. The only thing they hate worse than paying you is paying me. Visit hurricanelawyer.com today. Morgan & Morgan, for the people. Offices, Daytona Beach.
Your voice can be heard loud and clear right here on Trump Talk Live. Our local number is 239-0033. You can call us toll-free from anywhere in the USA at 800-927-0033.
Welcome back, Trumpublicans. I'm still a little breathless after listening to the judge. This week, Senator Corker from Tennessee, who once asked Donald Trump to appoint him Secretary of State, made reference to the White House as an adult daycare center. That's a pretty demeaning way to refer to the president. It drew a lot of outraged response, most especially from the former chief strategist for the president, Steve Bannon, who is being more effective now when he's unsheathed his sword outside the White House. Here's what he said about Senator Corker's remarks. You got Senator Corker there. So let's see Senator Corker. And that's here. Let's hear what Steve Bannon has to say about this little senator.
It's totally unacceptable. In a time of war, we have troops in Afghanistan, in the Northwest Pacific and Korea. We have a major problem that could be like World War I, in the South China Sea, in the Persian Gulf. We have American lives at risk every day. He tweets on Sunday that it's like the adult center and somebody didn't have the morning shift. And then he has the audacity to go to the New York Times and to give this
He didn't know that was going to air. He didn't know they were going to release that.
I think, by the way, I'm not sure that he knew it was going to be a tape, but he gave those guys an on-the-record interview.
Yeah, he knows what on the record means. We know what on the record means. Mitch and the rhinos, like Corker, have to go, says Bannon.
McConnell and Corker and the entire clique, establishment globalist clique on Capitol Hill, have to go. And if we need any more proof about what they think, you heard it tonight, it's an absolute disgrace.
Corker should resign, he says, and let the Tennessee governor appoint Representative Marsha Blackburn to replace him.
Amen.
Let's go.
They have total contempt for the forgotten man. They have total contempt for the base. That's what you saw in Alabama. In Alabama, where they came in with Luther Strange with $32 million to destroy Judge Moore, you saw what the base thought of them, right? The base totally rejected them. These people have no respect for the working men and women in the United States. And I tell you what, Senator Corker is an absolute disgrace. And I agree with Jason Miller, who is the comms director on our campaign. I think one of the best comms people around. Jason's on CNN, but he never talks out of school.
So sorry to hear that.
On CNN today, he called for Senator Corker to resign.
I agree with him.
For the governor of Tennessee to replace him with Marsha Blackburn, a real conservative. If Bob Corker has any honor, any decency, he should resign immediately. He should not let those words stand what he said about the president.
So there you go. And Trump, by the way, Mr. Bannon says, won on his agenda, not their agenda.
They have to understand. There's a basic agenda that President Trump ran on and won. He carried states that Republicans haven't carried in living memory. Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. This agenda works. The American people voted for it. It's their responsibility. By the way, McConnell would not be majority leader unless Trump in North Carolina, in Missouri, in Wisconsin was able to carry those senators across the finish line. It is incumbent upon them to back President Trump's plan, but you don't see it.
Well, these people, these rhinos, they're hearing Steve Bannon's footsteps.
There's a coalition coming together that's going to challenge every Republican incumbent except for Ted Cruz, whether it's Utah, Wyoming, whether it's in
Orrin
Nevada,
Hatch in Utah.
Orrin Hatch in Utah.
every potential candidate will be vetted to make sure that they adhere to the Trump agenda as well.
Spending a ton of time with the grassroots organizations to make sure that these candidates are fully vetted. You're going to see people announced this week that are going to have experience in government. You're going to see some outsiders that are authentic, and these people are real. It's not like 2010. 2010 was the beginning of the Tea Party when things were first getting going. You're going to see real candidates, and by the way, they're going to take on incumbents in every state, and they're going to take on the Democrats after that.
You know, with friends like these anti-Trump rhinos, you don't need enemies, and Bannon says they're betraying the Trump nation.
It's a lack of sense of urgency. By the way, these guys work 3 days a week. The American people, now people are working 2 jobs. Their wives are working 2 jobs. They know the urgency out there on the economic hate crimes that have been perpetuated on the American working men and women in this country because of the trade deals.
And you know what this means, Tony? This means war.
We are declaring war on the Republican establishment that does not back the agenda that Donald Trump ran on. Paul Rove, Stephen Law, these guys should get the joke. Their donors are coming to us because they're tired of having their money burned up by trying to destroy people like Judge Moore. It's a new game in town. We're going to cut off the oxygen to Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell's biggest asset is the money. We're going to make it the biggest liability. And we're going after these guys tooth and nail.
Now,
let me
Tony,
sum this up.
Yeah.
What we've got to do is change the narrative. What we've heard for months and months and months, and a lot of us Republicans, friends of mine, all over, they're saying, well, the GOP is bad, the Republicans are bad, they're not getting anything done. Well, from this day forward, we've all got to change the narrative. President Trump is good. The Republicans are good. The GOP is good. The House is good. It's like you heard the judge say. The House has passed 274 bills. Now, if you want to focus on the negative and the bad of the ones that aren't doing anything right, then you have got to focus your anger and your madness at the Senate. So what's got to happen is from now all the way through 2018, if you're engaged in talking to your friends, your Republican friends, and they start beating up on the Republicans, then you've got to stop them. You've got to explain to them just what I told you. President Trump's good. The GOP's good. The House is good. The people that are destroying this country today reside in the United States Senate. Now, what's going to happen is in 2018, and I spent 2 hours with Ted Cruz last week, and this is his opinion. If our people stay home in 2018, guess what? You will have Speaker Pelosi in charge in January 2019. So you've got to change the narrative. You've got to make sure that all of the bad things that happens, just like Steve Bannon said, they're going after all of them. Everybody in the Senate should be afraid of their jobs. So we've got to change the narrative. It's very important.
Mitch McConnell is hearing a little bit of this because he's changed the rules of the Senate for the first time to stop the Democrats from blocking Trump's judicial appointments. They have a thing called a blue slip. Now what I say Mitch has done is he's given a pink slip to the blue slip. That means that a senator in his state can stop an appointment to the Senate and a nomination to the Senate by simply holding the nomination. It's a rule of courtesy in the Senate, but it's not mandatory, and Mitch McConnell's canceled it. So now the Trump judicial picks will go through because Mitch is getting nervous that they're going to ditch him. So we have to now. Trump is promising big tax cuts. It looks like the GOP might try to fiddle around the edges and get timid, but Trump won't. He's campaigning relentlessly like Ronald Reagan did in the early 80s to get his tax reform. Trump's doing the same thing. Now, Trump was in Harrisburg this week, speaking with truckers in Harrisburg about his tax reform, and he pointed out, Obama has increased the national debt, but look at what's happened to the stock market, Mr. Trump.
Just in the stock market alone, we have increased our economic worth by $5.2 trillion. That's right since Election Day, $5.2 trillion.
That's amazing, and that's because of confidence in Trump's business ability. Now, he pointed out, where did all this national debt come from, $20 trillion? You know, in the first 200 and some years of our republic, we didn't achieve as much debt as Obama did in his 8 years. Let's listen to that.
In the last 8 years of the previous administration, the debt doubled. So that in 8 years, our debt, literally hundreds of years of debt, doubled in 8 years to $20 trillion. But since the election on November 8th, I've increased the value of your U.S. assets by more than the $20 trillion that we currently owe. You haven't heard those numbers.
Cut 4 will be next. Cut 4 will be next when we see tax reform will boost this recovery astronomically, he told the truckers in Pennsylvania.
But our country and our economy cannot take off like they should unless we transform America's outdated, complex, and extremely burdensome tax code. And that's why I'm here with you right now, tonight. Thank you. And we're going to fight, and we're going to get those Republicans and maybe a few of those Democrats to raise their hand, and you're going to have so much money to spend in this wonderful country.
We need, he says, a tax system that's fair to the working middle class and small businesses alike.
We need a tax system that is fair to working families and that encourages companies to stay in America, grow in America, spend in America, and hire in America. Throughout the year, my administration has worked closely with Congress to develop a framework for tax reform that will deliver exactly that. More jobs, higher pay, and lower taxes for middle-income families and for American businesses of all size.
Now, he talked about simplifying the tax code, cutting taxes so you can just do it on a single piece of paper. Very important. A 0% tax rate for couples making up to $24,000 a year. That's a 0% tax rate. He says they don't talk about it, but it's a 0% tax rate, Tony, for those people. And above that, it's 12%, which comes down from 15%. Then you have 25 and 35% coming down from the 39%. And also close loopholes that benefit the wealthy to lower taxes for working middle class. One of those tax breaks in question, of course, in big tax states like New York and California are the property tax and the local state taxes that they get to deduct that they will lose. That benefits a lot of wealthy folk that have big expensive mansions, California multi-million-dollar mansions.
Yeah, they need to lose that.
Florida
so their taxes can go up.
Florida doesn't have an income tax. We shouldn't be subsidizing those people. But let's just talk about two things. Now, there's another thing, the death tax on Cut 10. He talks about this. This is for small businesses, family mom-and-pop businesses and farms. You lose the farm when dad dies because you can't afford to pay the taxes. Get rid of the death tax. That doesn't happen anymore. Let's listen.
We are going to protect thousands of family businesses by ending the crushing, horrible, and unfair estate tax, sometimes known as the death tax. That's a tax that has destroyed so many businesses and kept those businesses out of your family, your children, your grandchildren. It's very sad. But we are working to end the estate tax, to end the death tax, as it's often called.
And pivotal, a low one-time tax rate to return trillions of dollars of investment overseas. And most importantly, back when Reagan got the tax down to 35% for corporations, that was the lowest in the world. It no longer is. But now, if we go down to 20% corporate tax rate, we'll be the lowest in the civilized world. On cut number 11, he explains what that will do for us.
When it comes to the business tax, we are now dead last among developed nations. Our rate is the least competitive rate. We have the highest tax rate anywhere in the world. How foolish is this? Our business tax rate is 60% higher than our average economic competitor.
And under the new framework, it'd make us the most competitive. So, Tony, a few remarks, and then we go to the break.
Yeah, I mean, this is positive. We're going to be at the home show Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We're going to have petitions out there, so come to the home show, find our booth, and sign the petition that we will get to the White House and demand that tax reform be done. We're there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, so come to the home show.
We'll see you there, and we'll see you back on Trump Talk Live in just a moment.
Your voice can be heard loud and clear right here on Trump Talk Live. Our local number is 239-0033. You can call us toll-free from anywhere in the USA at 800-927-0033. We'll return in just a moment with more Trump Talk Live, getting America right again.
FlySanford.com, Orlando Sanford International Airport. We are SFB. Simpler, faster, better.
Visiting friends and family or just looking for some fun? Book your vacation to one of their nonstop destinations, including Amsterdam, Aruba, Mexico City, and San Juan, as well as over 75 domestic destinations, including Charlotte, Gulfport, Biloxi, and New Orleans.
For enjoyable travel, come to Orlando Sanford International Airport. We are SFB. Simpler, faster, better. Before you fly, FlySanford.com.
Provision Packs presents the Eat, Drink, and Dazzle Backpack Bash and Costume Party. Join Provision Packs for this old Hollywood-themed costume party Saturday, October 14th at 31 Supper Club in Ormond Beach. Get in on the live and silent auctions, costume contest, and more. Tickets are $50 each and include food, live entertainment, valet parking, and much more. Provision Packs provides backpacks with well-balanced meals for kids in our community who might otherwise go hungry when school's not in session. Go to provisionpacks.org and get your tickets today.
Your voice can be heard loud and clear right here on Trump Talk Live. Our local number is 239-0033. You can call us toll-free from anywhere in the USA at 800-927-0033.
All right, we're back. I want to talk a couple of minutes about our sponsors. We've got Milne Roofing. Is a great guy. He re-roofs your house. His phone number is 386-986-8688. Milne Roofing. Marino's Pizza over in DeLand. She's located at 253 North Spring Garden Avenue. And she does pizzas and subs and a lot of good food. Then we've got South Daytona Storage and Offices in South Daytona. If you need to store stuff, go down there and see them. Then we got Sonia Maury, State Farm agent. She's advertises on the radio show here. So if you need some insurance, she's in the land. Go talk to Sonia. All righty.
All right. President Trump has a busy week at the White House. He invited. Everybody stand.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. He invited Prime Minister Trudeau of Canada. Prime Minister Trudeau, although quite a bit more to the left than President Trump, they've developed a nice, close personal relationship. And even though we're kind of tussling over NAFTA, it's still on a friendly basis. And here's what the Prime Minister had to say on his visit.
We have an incredibly close relationship at two countries that are interwoven in our economies, in our cultures, in our peoples. But we have a good partnership, and there's always ways to improve it, always issues we need to talk through, and that's why having an ongoing constructive relationship between the President and the Prime Minister is really important, and I'm glad to be able to meet with you here again today.
And, of course, the president wasn't given any clues about what the negotiations were going to be about, but, of course, the reporters could not resist. They wanted to know, is NAFTA dead, Mr. President?
We'll see what happens. We have a tough negotiation, and it's something that you will know in the not-too-distant future. But we are going to be discussing NAFTA, and we'll be discussing defense, because we have a great, these are truly great and original allies, and mutual defense is very important.
Then, of course, they asked about NBC's report that Trump wants to increase the nuclear arsenal, and Trump shot it down.
No, I never discussed increasing it. I want it in perfect shape. That was just fake news by NBC, which gives a lot of fake news lately. No, I never discussed. I think somebody said I want 10 times the nuclear weapons that we have right now. Right now, we have so many nuclear weapons. I want them in perfect condition, perfect shape. That's the only thing I've ever discussed. General Mattis put out a statement, or is putting out a statement, saying that that was fake news, that it was just mentioned that way. And it's frankly disgusting the way the press is able to write whatever they want to write. And people should look into it.
Well, we're going to skip to North Korea, which is cut 6 next when we talk about that, because the fake news, they're always making things up. Anyway, so what about you having a different opinion than your team about what to do about North Korea? What do you say to that, Mr. President?
I think I have a little bit different attitude on North Korea than other people might have. And I listen to everybody, but ultimately my attitude is the one that matters, isn't it? That's the way it works. That's the way the system is. But I think I might have a somewhat different attitude and a different way than other people. I think perhaps I feel stronger and tougher on that subject than other people. But I listen to everybody, and ultimately I will do what's right for the United States and really what's right for the world, because that's really a world problem.
And speaking of world problems, who's better equipped to give the president advice than the sage diplomat Dr. Henry Kissinger, who came to the White House the very same day?
It's an honor to have Dr. Kissinger with us, a man of immense talent and experience and knowledge. And I'm going to talk to him for a while, and we're going to learn a lot. But I can say from a world standpoint, and with many of the countries that Henry and I would talk about before the election, because I would talk with Henry before the election, we've made a lot of progress with many of them. We have some outstanding, and we'll handle that as we have to handle it. But we've made a lot of progress in the Middle East with ISIS and so many other things. It's a much calmer place. But Henry, I say often, I inherited a mess, but we're fixing it.
It's always a great honor to be in this office. And I'm here at a moment when the opportunity to build a constructive, peaceful world order is very great. And the president is leaving on a trip through Asia, which I think will make a great contribution to progress and peace and prosperity. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you very much.
So, Henry Kissinger. Now, President Trump is going to force GOP to have a reckoning in Congress because he's going to decertify the Iran nuclear deal. Let's see that graphic. And
right.
That Iran nuclear deal is a mess. Of course, the Iranians are saying we won't negotiate anything else, and it's going to let us do anything we want. But the president is not going to put up with that Iran nuclear deal. One other item. Remember, there was an early report that there might be Islamist leanings behind the Las Vegas mass murderer, Stephen Paddock. Well, ISIS has put out word that they have a video of him pledging allegiance to the Islamic State. We'll see what happens on that. Okay, the FBI. An article we recommend to you on the American Thinker. It's entitled by Pamela Geller, who has fought the Islamists all over the place.
Many years, yes.
At great risk to herself. Why we cannot trust the FBI. A nose that grows like Pinocchio every day. She points out all of these things, including ruling out the Islamist connections on Stephen Paddock being the most recent example where the FBI is probably dead wrong and probably has an agenda.
Yep.
You know, the Trump has sent the administration a three-part agenda on immigration. Immigration, cracking down, adding more judges and more officers, and most importantly on immigration, a merit-based system by the RAISE Act. And we also want to note that part of his plan is $10 billion for, wait for it, the border wall. Okay, Roger Goodell has caved. He is kneeling before the president because his kneeling players have gotten slapped down. The NFL, the Kneeling Football League, will be kneeling no longer. Roger Goodell has informed all the owners that they have to sit for a meeting next week at which they'll institute a new rule, is that you stand for the national anthem or you stand in the unemployment line. How about that, folks?
Amen.
Score one for President Trump or the old red, white, and blue. Okay.
He was right in the beginning.
Yeah. Now, Kellyanne Conway was talking about stunts, but we won't get into that. Trump has suggested now also challenging the licenses of TV networks like NBC that engage in fake news.
That's right.
Because they
Put
are
them out of
required.
business.
Yeah, they're required to do that. Now, so, another quick one, American Pravda. Look for this, folks, online. James O'Keefe of Project Veritas has put out an undercover video where the New York Times digital editor is admitting, basically, he's a Hillary shill, and that's all he is. Now, Horrible Harvey. We'll just show the picture of Horrible Harvey with all of his women. Horrible Harvey has been fired. He's likely to be prosecuted. The FBI is investigating him. He's in exile. He's going into rehab. And all of a sudden, hypocritical Hollywood is rejecting Horrible Harvey. Even Hillary is rejecting him, even though she's keeping all the campaign money he gave her. So that's it for Trump Talk Live, because we're going to have to leave you. We've run out of time. We had so much fun tonight.
Watch Judge Jeanine Pirro Saturday night.
Absolutely. And make America great again, everybody. Glad to have you with us. See you next week.
It's not a history museum, not a science museum, not an art museum. It's all those things.
Awesome!
The Museum of Arts and Sciences.
Celebrate the season at the Museum of Arts and Sciences Fall Family Festival. Kids, dress up in your funniest or scariest, most colorful costumes for the Halloween costume contest, trick-or-treating in the galleries, games, and more. Saturday, October 21st. Visit MOAS.org.
Cool. Just a half mile south on International Speedway Boulevard on Nova Road. Visit the Museum of Arts and Sciences, Daytona Beach's Family Museum.
You've been listening to Trump Talk Live, making America great again, 1 hour at a time. Follow us at Volusia County Republican Party on Facebook or go to our website, TrumpTalkLive.com for updates. Join your Trump-Publican hosts, Vic Baker and Tony Ledbetter, for another fearless edition of Trump Talk Live next Thursday at 7 p.m. right here on WNDB 1150 AM and 93.5 FM. Trump Talk Live is presented each week by the Republican Party of Volusia County, where we the people have the right voice when it comes to defending America's founding values. In God we trust. In America, we believe.
The Republican Executive Committee of Volusia County is responsible for the content of this advertising.
The radio stations of Southern Stone Communications, FM 93.5, AM 1150, WNDB Daytona Beach. Proud to be locally owned.
More lives. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. The outbreak of fires began Sunday night, fueled by hot, dry conditions and high winds, and have erupted since then.
21 fires continue to burn in Northern California, including several in wine country. Firefighters made precious headway against the Atlas fire burning between Napa and Solano County, as the winds that were expected to come overnight did not show. But there are still major fires burning near Sonoma, near Yountville, near Calistoga, and near Geyserville. The latest numbers say more than 3,500 structures destroyed, more than 200,000 acres burned, and 29 deaths.
Fox's Adam Housley in Napa County. 8,000 firefighters, some from out of state and Australia, helping to battle the blazes. Aid coming to the victims of the fires, the House passing a $36.5 billion aid bill, some of which will go to them. President Trump signing off on an executive order on health care this morning.
The executive order signed by the president will allow employers to band together across state lines to offer health coverage that bypasses requirements under Obamacare. White House Chief of Staff retired General John Kelly explained why the president didn't sign the executive order his first week in office.
There was a sense that had the big bill passed, all of that would have been taken care of.
The president says he isn't giving up on getting lawmakers to repeal Obamacare.
Fox's John Decker at the White House. House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi called the order a sabotage of the Affordable Care Act, which she calls a real disservice to the American people, many of whom voted for him. Officials at the Mandalay Bay Hotel say the Las Vegas gunman wounded the security guard in a hotel hallway within 40 seconds of firing into the crowd at a country music concert October 1st, disputing a police timeline which puts 6 minutes from the time the guard was shot. Fox News, fair and balanced.
When I grow up, I want to be a new pair of blue jeans. When I grow up, I want to be a kid's first computer. When I grow up, I want to be a glass countertop in a new home. When I grow up, I want to be a kid's best birthday present. When I grow up, I want to be a football stadium. When I grow up, I want to be a warm fleece on a cold day. When I grow up, I want to be a fancy backsplash. I want to be a bike that races around the country. When I grow up, I want to be a bench on a forest trail. I want to be a rocking chair on a sunny porch. I want to be a skyscraper. I want to be When I grow up, I don't want to be a piece of garbage. And if you recycle me, I won't be.
Give your garbage another life. Recycle. Learn how at iwanttoberecycled.org. A public service advertisement brought to you by Keep America Beautiful and the Ad Council.
A promise from House Republicans that they will get tax reform done this year.
There is intense pressure in Congress to get tax reform done by the end of the year. House Speaker Paul Ryan is already talking about working through the holidays if necessary.
We're going to keep people here till Christmas if we have to. I mean, I don't care. We got to get this done.
One issue that critics have jumped on is plans to eliminate the state and local tax deduction. That revenue is expected to help lower rates. Democrat Congressman Lloyd Doggett is warning that would hurt folks in high-tax states and even in his state of Texas.
Eliminating the deduction for property taxes would hit 2.3 million Texas tax filers across all income levels.
On Capitol Hill, Mike Emanuel, Fox News.
The Trump administration ordering International Paper and a waste management subsidiary to excavate and remove 22,000 cubic yards of contaminated sediments from a Superfund site outside Houston. Both companies say they oppose the decision. 2 police departments considering criminal charges against Harvey Weinstein.
Possible charges against Harvey Weinstein are being discussed by both the New York and London police departments. The London police are assessing a sexual abuse allegation against the producer, according to UK's The Guardian. Have been identified as of this time. Both police departments' reviews into complaints.
He's not a mogul anymore.
Didn't it say he fled the country or something?
Well, he has left for Europe, rehab in Europe. They always leave for rehab, these Hollywood types. Rehab. Yeah, like he's going to pay for 40 years and rehab's going to change him somehow. He's going to find Jesus. Well, he's Jewish, but he's not going to find Jesus. Maybe. But, you know, it's a joke. He went to my son's alma mater at Buffalo, University of Buffalo. And he had a thing when he was in college. He started. Come on. Come on, baby. Come on. All right. There we go. There we go. There we go. Listen. Yes. There you go. There you go. Grandma. Good. Good boy. Okay, let me see.
Okay, can't do that. So I got that, I got that, I got that. Okay, it's done. Only two. Okay, we got that, and so we're going to take that to Audacity. Audacity. We will export audio. Good puppies. Good puppies. Yeah, good babies. graham crackers. No. There we go. Maggie. That was fast. Okay, all done. These are all done. $29.78. That's all right. All right. Good boy. Good boy. I don't have anything more for you. No. Sorry. 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 You gotta let it go. Let it go. Get down.
For threats,
Stop.
including new
Get down.
accounts in your name, money being or your information being sold on the dark web. And if there's a problem, when a
working class, speaking the truth for the America that Washington left behind, making America great again, 1 hour at a time. This is Trump Talk Live, where we the people have the right voice, presented by the Republican Party of Volusia County. Now, here are your hosts, Vic Baker and Tony Ledbetter.
Greetings, fellow American Patriot Trumppublicans, and welcome to the Trump Health Care Cure. Judge Janine Lincoln Day, Kit Martin, Teenage Republican, Drain the Swamp, Ditch Mitch, NFL Retreat, Dirty Harvey Exile, New York Times Unmasked episode of Trump Talk Live, the home of fearless truth-telling about our 45th president and his mission to stand up for the beleaguered middle class, stand up against villains of the world, and stand up for Old Glory, regardless of whether the fast, withering left and spineless faux Republicans stand against him or not. We are Trump Nation. We are Trump warriors. We packed the Ocean Center Sunday night to hear an inspiring call to arms from Judge Janine Pirro, a fierce defender of Donald Trump, truth, justice, and the American way. Here is fair warning to senators who work maybe 2 days a week and undermine the president's promises to us when they do show up. Your days are numbered. Trump Nation will rise up as we did last year, and we will finish the careers of those who choose to ignore the will of the people who pay their taxes and salaries. It's time to ditch Mitch and pull the cork on Corker. The cozy little game in Washington is entering the 2-minute warning, and we will soon populate the Senate with Republican patriots like Judge Roy Moore, Marsha Blackburn, Kelly Ward, and others who fully appreciate what we're sending them to do. The president rallied truckers in Harrisburg for his middle-class miracle this week, a tax reform package that promises to cut taxes on businesses and the hard-working middle class, kill the death tax and AMT, make America competitive again, and bring trillions of dollars home from overseas business investments. Don't blow this, Mitch. Senators, do your job. Donald Trump and the patriotic Trump Nation has brought the kneeling football league back to its feet. Roger Goodell may not salute the red, white, and blue, but he does love the color green. His bottom line is bleeding from outraged patriotic fans who have turned off the games and transformed the NFL from the most popular to the least popular sport in America. So now you're saluting Roger. New rule, players. If you're flagged for unpatriotic conduct, you may be kneeling at home next Sunday, out of a job. Hollywood is seething with hate for Donald Trump. Now one of the biggest Trump bashers of Tinseltown is cast aside by his hypocritical make-believe industry. Indie mogul Harvey Weinstein is fired, exposed by the New Yorker as a serial sexual harasser, using his casting couch to force unwanted advances on glamorous starlets. The Hollywood left has been forced to abandon dirty Harvey Weinstein, who's fled to rehab in Europe, while his gorgeous wife, Georgina, runs to divorce court. Hollywood covered up for Dirty Harvey for decades. How are we shocked by this? Give them all Oscars for the worst bad act in Hollywood history. Even Hillary, who went after her husband's victims, is abandoning Dirty Harvey, who was one of her biggest Hollywood bagmen. Clue, she hasn't given back any of the money, by the way. And James O'Keefe sheds the light on the lefty rag New York Times. The liberal paper of record has been exposed as rabidly and deliberately biased against conservatives and especially against President Donald Trump. No surprise here. But now we have caught the Times propagandists admitting their crimes against the truth. All that fibs, they print. Our thanks to the Trump Talk Live team of Volusia County TARs, Teenage Republicans, led by Chairman Duncan DeMarche, handling the graphics for the Facebook Live webcast of our show. He's assisted by Ian Escalante and Malcolm Swaggerty, all future leaders of America. You're listening to us live on WNDB 1150 AM, 93.5 FM in Daytona Beach. You can also listen online anywhere on TrumpTalkLive.com. You can watch our show with graphics on Facebook Live, where the Volusia County Republican Facebook page. And you can also watch by searching Trump Talk Live on Facebook, not on Facebook, on YouTube, through the Vic Baker channel. I'm your fearless Trumpublican truth teller, Vic Baker, hosting the show tonight with a tired but happy Volusia County Republican Chairman Tony Ledbetter, basking in the afterglow of the biggest and most successful Lincoln Day dinner in the history of Florida. Tony.
Tired, you got that right. I've been resting for the last 2 days, but yes, it was an exciting day for me because I got to spend the whole day with the judge. And that was exciting. I got to pick her up at the airport, take her to the hotel, and it was exciting for me because there's very few people that I connect with in the political world. But it's like everything we talked about the whole day, and it started when I picked her up at 1, and we had to take her back to the airport the next morning. It was just like talking to myself. I mean, we discussed everything political, and it was an enjoyment to